Hey everyone, today I'm sharing a story that's been tearing me apart for months. Imagine this, you're in a solid 3 best friend, practically your brother, has been by your side for 20 years. Then, in the blink of an eye, everything you 33 male and wife 26 female, discarded me to be together. So I thought I'd share my story here. I was 2.5 years into RT towards the end. She would initiate breaks, we'd break up, get back together, and just have constant fights during phone calls and hangouts. He was with me every step of the way, convinced me to break up with my wife, and once I did, he could not be again because my wife had been cheating with him the entire time. Now that they have moved in together, I just feel Lee thought he would ever do this to me. My wife of 2.5 years crushed me too, but I have been friends with this guy since my world upside down. How can I be such a terrible judge of character? Any info that may elicit questions on how it was because either friends or family filled me in after D-Day. My best friend is someone who I have known since that. Basically brothers from another mother. You know the whole spiel. We kept zero secrets and were an open etc., you name it. He knew everything about me and I knew everything about him. Even though he may be my best dating life has been a complete disaster. He has had 4 exes, 2 of which cheated on him, one was sleeping with a year. He cheated on his 3rd girlfriend and dumped her to be with his 4th. He also hits up prostitutes regularly. His MO, his mom just sends him money. Meanwhile, I was a virgin and had never had any contact with any women until this January 13, 2019. Our connection was instant, and we hit it off right from the start. Our first date was magical, made me feel like I had known her forever. From that first date to the end of 2020, things were generally going well. Inez, and creating a treasure trove of memories. We also spent a lot of time with my best friend Mike and his girlfriend Emily, whom he had been with for around 4. It was a road trip to the mountains or a quiet evening playing board games. The 4 of us became an inseparable endemic hit. It shook up everyone's lives. Emily broke up with Mike and moved back to China, leaving him heartbroken the time. Mike needed support, and we were there for him. We would play video games for hours, watch movies, maintain some semblance of normalcy. When the restaurants started opening up, we would go out to eat, and sometimes Mike would also take my wife out to lose by to the places he would go to eat. I thought nothing of it, and their outings became more and more frequent. Because he was my best friend of 20 years. And she would always send me pictures of the food and tell me that out my wife's family to renovate a new house they just got. It was a big project, and they needed all the help they could during this time. I had already returned to work for 2 days a week. The remainder of the 5 days I would go help, felt good about contributing to something important for her family. By the end of March, I had broken my wrist surgery, which left me incapacitated for weeks. My wife was supportive at first, helping me with my recovery, but her came up on April 29th. I had planned a trip for her that involved the 29th and 30th. We went to a beautiful On the 30th, as we were coming back home, Mike wanted to give her a birthday cake as well and waited for us to calm day, which she was ecstatic over. It was a thoughtful gift, something that showed he knew her well and cared about. Pushed it aside, telling myself that it was just a friendly gesture. May, week 1. A week later she calls me up to Brea. I didn't make enough money. She said that I was lazy and had to find a second job, and that I didn't have the luxury 'cause he's rich. Her words cut deep, leaving me feeling worthless and inadequate. I was also not the first one to wish her a happy bear that had wished her a happy birthday earlier than me, and she replied with, You don't need to know. I have come to re. A couple of weeks after the breakup, I called up Mike to confide in him that I had broken up with her. Before he had no idea that I was suffering and going through this pain. Apparently he had already invited her out for dinner, that she didn't mention anything about me when they were together. He told me to never hesitate to reach out, and that he was already there for me, which I took up and either hung out ni call. Mike's support was a lifeline for me during those dark days, even though I couldn't shake off the feeling that found myself relying more and more on Mike's companionship. He was always there, always ready to listen, and his doubt about his intentions and the nature of his relationship with my wife never truly left my mind. She calls me up OOT. Despite everything that had happened, I found myself agreeing to get back together. For the next few weeks, everything's about our future, discussing how we could save money to move in together next year. We even planned a 3. When I mentioned our plans to Mark, he pulled me aside for a serious talk. You need to reconsider moving in with your wrist. That's a huge red flag. She put you through hell all this time. Do you really think she's going to change? Someone like that. His words hit me hard. They were logical, sensible, and I couldn't ignore them. I nodded in agreement, realizing the days passed. I started attending therapy sessions for my wrist post-surgery. There I met a few attractive women and relationship, the more doubts crept in. The initial breakup, along with our past issues, made me question everything. Doing things with her. Maybe, just maybe, I could ask out one of these women from therapy. Mark's response took me in the dark. Ask out the women from therapy, and if things work out with them, you can make the transition. Your wife can be or days tormented by the idea of deceiving her and the potential emotional devastation it would cause. Ultimately, her time was something I couldn't bear. I knew I would hate myself forever if I did. June week 3, determined to make device. I had multiple tabs open with articles titled, When to Break Up. How do you know if she's worth sticking? Aru saw the open tabs on my laptop. Her face changed, and she began questioning me. Our conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument. She admitted that someone else had asked her out during our relationship, but she had turned him down because telling him she wasn't going on the trip with us anymore. I took a deep breath and explained to her that while I had the 3 years we had spent together, and how much I cared for her. I assured her that I was in this for the long haul. After a long and emotional conversation, we managed to make up. We decided to go on that trip, hoping it would. He had just moved into a new apartment. A sleek and modern space that he was eager to turn into his ultimate bachelor, the perfect environment to jump back into the dating scene. Excited about his fresh start, he had invited me over flat-packed furniture from IKEA, including a couple of large high-definition televisions, a stylish table, and a new bed. Evening unpacking, sorting parts, and putting everything together. The process was tedious, but also somewhat therapeutic. We reminisced about old times and shared a few laughs as our ambition to get everything perfect was evident, especially as he was also making significant changes in his life. He ironing and cardio, and the results were impressive. He had shed a significant amount of weight, and his newfound he looked around the apartment, satisfied with the progress. He turned to me, gratitude in his eyes, and thanked them. Been there for me every step of the way through this darkest time of my life. And I would do the same for you. This is nothing. It was true. His support had been unwavering during my tumultuous times, and I wanted to be there. Somewhat cryptically, that he never told her anything during the times they hung out. June 30th, that evening turned calls or texts. Earlier that day, he had picked up my call, and we chatted briefly about his apartment and our plans. Again, he didn't pick up. I sent a few texts, but there was no response. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Days worried and confused. It wasn't until much later that he revealed the reason behind his sudden disappearance. He had been having dinner ring my calls. This revelation stung, as it marked the first time she had gone out with him without informing me. Acid time I saw or made contact with him was on our planned trip. He was the designated driver. As he had a spacious car G out, I would always sit up front with him while my wife sat in the back seat. However, this time she claimed it was the entire time. Throughout the vacation, my best friend was unusually generous. He covered all the expenses, including our tickets, him spending the entire trip by his side. They ran off together to play in the arcades, gamble at the casino, and exp evening. One of my friends pulled me aside and confided that there had been some gossiping within the group. They whispering amongst themselves and asking whose girlfriend she was. The suspicion and rumors were humiliating, but I tripped. Despite my efforts, the 3-day trip was filled with tension and discomfort. My wife and I did not share any intimate moments, which only added to the growing sense of alienation and betrayal as the last one in the car with him. The atmosphere was awkward, but we made small talk. He casually mentioned THIN, which was why he knew all the best spots to eat and have fun. His familiarity with the place suddenly made Sen ask him why he had stopped picking up my calls. He claimed he had been busy setting up the internet and putting teach. However, the truth was far more unsettling. I later discovered that the trip we had just taken was originally planned oldn't miss out. My reconciliation with her had inadvertently disrupted his plans, revealing a layer of deceit I hadn't approaching, and a sense of dread loomed over me as I noticed a significant shift in my wife's behavior. In the week, LTS became sporadic, and at times she wouldn't respond at all. This was completely out of character for her. The next day. As midnight approached, I waited eagerly, hoping for a warm, affectionate birthday wish. Instead, she mumbled a D, but she brushed me off, something that had never happened before. We eventually did have sex, but it was meccan be our last intimate moment together. The actual day of my birthday was a disaster. She seemed entirely disconnected way through the day, claiming she had work to complete. Her departure left a gaping void, and I couldn't shake the time I saw her in person. The combination of the recent vacation and her cold behavior made me feel utterly miserable. By the following week, following my birthday, were filled with emptiness. We engaged in random texting and late-night FaceTime calls. Bo decided to stop texting her altogether. She didn't reach out to me either until 5 p.m. after work. When I finally called her, we're breaking up, but the conversation ended on a sour note. I was fed up with her attitude, and said some petty, and she replied that she had bought a card but didn't know what to write because she feared I would leave her. I made a wish in front of her. In a fit of anger, I told her I didn't care about her, and she hung up on me. Mid-August, informing me that her father would come over to drop off my belongings and collect hers. When her father worked things out with her and expressed his hope that we would reconcile. He encouraged me to keep in touch. August 28th, D-Day. From the vacation until this day, 6 weeks had passed, and 2 months if you included the last TN trying to reach out to him. But he never picked up my calls or responded to my texts. On this day while at work, O had called him that morning to share some shocking news. My wife had moved in with him, and they were now off but instead, our mutual friend immediately called to tell me the truth. I was absolutely devastated. That same night he called to confess everything. Mind you, I'm in a complete state of shock, so I'm answering incoherently and asking Edie realized it by now. I'm dating Sarah. It just happened. I had no choice. I was feeling suicidal if I didn't see her. Do you or speak to you. I'll always have your best interest at heart. She was terrible for you, but perfect for me. I asked H in her favorite color, and how he even knew when her birthday was. He said he just wanted to see her happy, and I would find out that he did months of research, snooping on her social media and stalking her Facebook feeds to know everything about her. Every detail that would make her smile, while I was completely in the dark. I asked him was because he saw that we were already having issues. She was mistreating me and being very disrespectful to take a chance on and shoot his shot, and that he was absolutely floored. She agreed to go out with him. He painted Italy disregarding how it would affect me. I asked him why he never asked me to go along with him when they were going on one-on-one dinner dates. Driving, I didn't want to bother you, you were busy. I didn't consider those dates, I just wanted to see her because I would feel alive and happy. Don't worry, until you two broke up I never laid my hands on her, never touched her. I would right. You two have been cheating on me. His response, if that's the way you see it, then I'm sorry. I asked him if he'd throw me under the bus and pull this stunt again. He said absolutely, 10 she's my soulmate. And that he'd be shocked if he doesn't marry her. She's a terrible match. CE was chilling, as if he had no regrets about betraying our friendship. I asked why he would pursue her and get toge flags to him. His response was, I feel like you made many mistakes, and caused these issues to spiral out of control. Is more exciting. He seemed to relish in the chaos that she brought into his life. Something I had tried so hard to you'll cheat on him in the future as well. And he said that's totally a possibility. It's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm willing to give my girlfriend a one-time pass. Al was baffling, as if he had already made peace with the idea of being hurt. I asked him why he would do this to me. Cheated on him multiple times, and he cheated on his third girlfriend and dumped her to be with his fourth. So I asked, do you do this to me? His response was, I didn't think it'd be that bad. Give it some time, you'll get over it. Weren't you? You're still young. There's plenty of fish out in the sea. We are the same age. His nonchalant attitude towards my to his happiness. I asked him how was the sex, and he responded with, it's alright, you can find better out there. Hip to a mere physical comparison. I asked him how it didn't bother him, or if he thought of me when he's having sex. Think about that stuff. He has also had sex with hundreds of prostitutes. His detachment from any emotional knew existed. I told him that we never broke up and that we only got into an argument on July 30th. He tells me that he had no fight and she was all over him. He said that was when he knew that we were over. Then he added, this last the time. She's my live-in girlfriend now. During this time, a few days before this phone call, my mom, who is taking the medications because they were no longer working, and she was too weak to receive further treatment. I told my friend if he wanted to visit her one last time because I didn't know whether she'd be around after another. To him was, am I your best friend? He replies with, of course, it's not even close. You helped me out during my dark there for me during my darkest time. You were nowhere to be found, and now I find out instead, you were the perp. Phone call with him telling me that he's going to lay low for 12 months, and that he won't be hanging out with me. He tells me not to listen to what any of my peers and family say about cutting him off, and that he'll always be friends. Tired time of no contact. He was actually really worried about me and wanted to check up on me all this time, but he to talk to me. For our final words he said to only contact him if it pertains to separating and closing any joint account. Late to that issue, do not reach out to him. Basically, if I want to contact Sarah at all, I have to go through him first. I've also come to realize my wife has blocked me from every social media platform, phone, etc., and she cannot be re-emails to talk and gain closure. To tell her how much I hurt her and pushed her away, that my inability and coldness, I was truly sorry for everything, and that if she wanted to move on and date him, I would give them my blessings. I'll losure for our last 3 years together to mean something instead of the way it ended in complete ghosting. I have L King to her, but he has never reached out since. I'm absolutely gutted and devastated. I've not only lost my wife, whom I had at one point considered proposing to and with whom I have shared more than half my lifetime and half my memories. Losing my wife of 3 years was bad deals. I see them living large, going on vacations and having the time of their lives on social media, and meanwhile, I'm my family, and soon my mother as well. I get nightmares of them laughing and smiling at each other while having it haunts me. And I get sleepless nights over it. I get random pangs of pain in my chest, and it keeps me wide awake. This is real. I just don't understand how he could destroy my relationship so badly. This is my first ever relationship. July 30th, it felt like just another bump in the road. I never imagined it would lead to this level of betrayal. 2 days living together. It's like our entire relationship meant nothing to her. She moved on so quickly and easily while It's hard to fathom how someone you love and trust can turn around and hurt you so deeply. My mom's illness only and that I might lose her soon is unbearable. I wanted my friend to be there for me, to offer some support, but he code just when I need him the most. The fact that he's now with my wife makes it all the more painful. It's a double betray. I'm sorry you feel that way. It's such a dismissive apology, like my feelings don't matter at all. Each time I replay that he's going to lay low for 6-12 months, but what about me? I'm the one left dealing with the fallout, the emotion to listen to others about cutting him off, but how can I not? He's the reason I'm in this mess in the first place. Words. If he truly cared, he wouldn't have done this to me. It's all just empty rhetoric designed to absolve himself of. It's like she's disappeared off the face of the earth, leaving me stranded with no closure. I've sent her countless emails asking for a final conversation, but there's been no response. I even reached out to her father, hoping he could help bridge the gap. But he's gone the dark, to keep me in this state of perpetual anguish. The silence is deafening and cruel, amplifying my sense of wife and best friend. It's the betrayal and the unanswered questions that gnaw at me day and night. I see them on while I'm stuck in this never-ending nightmare. The images of them together, happy and carefree, are like daggers to Linus. And all the while my mom's condition worsens, adding another layer of sorrow to my already heavy burden. It feels in sight. I'm haunted by the thought of them together. The bed I helped put together, once a symbol of our future, is of them being intimate, and it tears me apart. Sleepless nights have become my new normal, with random pangs. Find out this was all a bad dream, but reality is cruel and unyielding. I don't understand how he could do this to one I loved. His betrayal has shattered my world, leaving me to pick up the pieces alone. This was my first ever relationship and shattered by his actions. The woman I wanted to propose to start a family with, is now with the man I called my on my worst enemy. Every memory we created is now tainted. Every dream we shared is now a painful reminder. Heart, trying to navigate a future that now feels uncertain and bleak.